is Mandy and I'm from Present Savvy. I'm a presentation specialist, lover, whatever, expert, you name it. And I'm working with Prezi Video for quite a while. And I work with Julia Carter from Zest4 for such a long time that I have invited her to join to communicate something about virtual communication. She is an expert on virtual communication. And Julia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Julia Carter, and my business is called Zest4, and we specialize in leadership training specifically for leaders and teams who work virtually.
Perfect. So we prepared together a few sessions. The first session we just had is the 5 steps to a virtual brand. The second one, which is today, is how to communicate more effectively in a virtual world. And the third session will be about leadership in a virtual world. And I invited Julia to talk with her about this because she is the expert and she's working with teams and leaders for such a long time already. So the questions that I have is, what tips and tricks can you give us, Julia, about communicating more effectively in the virtual world? Because nowadays it is quite important, or it was actually always important, but now especially is really important because we communicate quite intense nowadays, sitting behind our computer at home. And I think a lot of people have to deal with this right now. So we can use some tips and tricks on that. Please, praise us.
I would be delighted to. Thank you, Mandy. So first of all, I would just thought we'd just highlight some of the challenges that we have when we communicate in this virtual world. And the key challenges, there are many, but I've put them into sort of 4 headings really. The first one being, obviously, how do we build relationships when we're not actually with people? Linked to that in a way is, how do we actually then collaborate with people who we don't see, who are not around us every day, which, you know, again, a huge challenge there. The distance is a problem, but I think also with distance, I would talk about cultural differences as well. And the distance, not just physical, but the distance in who we are and how we are due to culture. Trust is really what underlines the foundation of all of this, and how do we build trust when we are not with people? And finally, obviously, technology. Love it or hate it, thank goodness it exists. And we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at how we can embrace technology and maximize it to really support when we communicate virtually. So there, as I've said, there are hundreds of challenges. I've headlined them under these 4 headings, and we're going to today, I'm just going to share with you 5 of many tips of how to enable to overcome some of these problems.
Perfect. So before we go into the tips and tricks, let's take a short look on how are we communicating now and how you can have building relationship in a virtual world.
Technology kills viruses in just one. What did you do, Mom? Dad, holy crap!
Solamente tenemos que registrar autonomía curricular y el área socioemocional de los niños, porque esa parte está quedando bien. Perdón.
Goodbye. All right.
Perdón.
Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
See you guys.
Johnny!
Can you hear us?
So that was a big fun. I mean, I think a lot of people experience those things. I'm not sure about the guy in underwear though, but it's really funny to see how things can go wrong, and you always have to watch your camera. I mean, we struggled, Julia, with the lighting and everything what we're doing. So yeah, it's a hard time to present in a really professional way nowadays. So please share your tips with us.
I would love to. Okay, so my first tip is know ourselves and know others. What do I mean by this? Being self-aware who am I? Who am I? How do I show up? When we get real clarity, and whether I'm working with leaders or individuals, it's so important that we are self-aware, because then we can show up as the authentic version of ourselves, not trying to be someone that we're not. And I think this links nicely to a previous session where we talked about our virtual brand. Get clarity on that. And then every day when we show up virtually to communicate, we're showing up in a consistent manner. And that helps people trust us. And once we get clarity on that, it's then about really understanding the others, the other people that we are working with, and working to build our relationships with those people. Know who they are, know what makes them tick, and know and understand how we need to be adaptable in our style so that we enable that connection. The second tip is building trust. I talk about trust every single session I run. If there is no trust, you have no relationship. So building trust is probably the most important one here. But of course, to build trust, we need to build relationships. And there are 3 areas to building trust. Being authentic, and I've just made reference to that already. Showing up as the true version of us every day, even on days that are not going so well. That self-awareness, which enables us to regulate and to understand why we're behaving in the way we're doing, so that we show up as a genuine, authentic version of ourselves, so that people trust us. Secondly, being credible. Being credible, you know, enabling people to see what we're bringing to the communication, to the team meeting, to the project. So really thinking about how can you exhibit your credibility. And finally, being reliable. And in the virtual space, this is really key. And I'm going to talk about communication guidelines and sort of agreed ways of working in one of my other tips. But I'll give you an example. If you have committed to a deadline and you are now not able to meet that deadline, in a virtual world, it is crucial that you show up via email or voicemail to say, I'm going to miss my deadline. Silence, not speaking up, leads to distrust. And of course, when we work face to face, that wouldn't happen so much, because you may bump into somebody and say, oh, just to let you know, I'm going to be a day late, for example. So really doing what you say you're going to do. And if you're not going to do it, showing that why you're not going to do it. So it's that, again, that consistency, so that people trust you. And there's no question about, well, why haven't they responded? What are they doing? You're not creating those negative perceptions of you. The third tip is to really get clear on who you are and should be communicating with, and not just sitting back and waiting for those needs to communicate to fall into your inbox or fall into your meetings. To really own who are the people you should be communicating with, almost as if you were running your own business, you know, putting a plan together, a communications plan or a marketing plan. So be proactive in who you should be communicating with. And I'm talking about your team members. Often I work with teams and I see there become these smaller cliques of team members working together and communicating, and not always reaching out to every member in the team. So you don't have a fully interdependent team. You have cliques or very independent working within that team. Outside of team, we have your customers. You know, are you reaching out in this virtual world? Are you making contact with them? Are you following up if they don't reply to a communication that you've sent them? And on that, who are your stakeholders? So within an organization, who are the people that is important for you to stay connected with? And are you consistently reaching out to them to create that connection? So once we've got clear on who, we then need to work out how are we going to engage them? So when we are connecting, how are we showing up? What's the experience that they're having? So engaging virtually, really being present when we do show up, is absolutely crucial when we talk about communicating virtually. And there's many parts to this. There's the preparation. you know, what is it you're going to say? What is the impression you want to give? What is the message you want to deliver? To who, the audience? How will that interaction take place? And what are the tools and the channels that you're going to use to enable that communication? So I'm going to pass back to you, Mandy, now to allow you to have some comments on this particular point.
Thank you, Julia. So engaging virtual presentation. As I said, I'm in love in creating presentations, and especially when we can find beautiful tool to visualize and to interact with people. The tool that we're using, we have mentioned now several times, which is Prezi Video, where you connect it with your content. I have this virtual communication, but you see on Julia's presentation, she has the slide that I want to talk about, which makes it really fun to look at. You know, it's not only me with my presentation, but she has a presentation as well. And we have a Zoom connection now where we start to communicate with each other. So it's a different way of presenting. And I think that's just try to change things as well to make it more fun for other people. And the screenshot that you see in the slide is that Prezi Video, like a platform. They created something where you can see amazing content from several people, and all those people are having their own expertise and topics. It could be education, it could be like us, virtual communication, but also more in depth, maybe consultancy on certain topics. So it's really a nice platform to, you know, to get some inspiration out of. But there are some more tools, of course, that you can use to communicate. As we can see in Zoom now, they have an option in a beta version as well to actually not only have a virtual background, but your virtual background is your presentation. So something like that you can use as well, just to try to challenge yourself, and not using something which is already used for, I don't know, many years, but try to challenge yourself to engage that audience and to communicate more effectively. Because as you can see, it's more interactive and better to see the person who's talking to you instead of having a complete slide where you're talking over. So my tip to you guys is challenge yourself on creating something memorable and something where you connected with your audience. Back to you, Julia.
Thank you, Mandy. And I would like to also add to that. I've very much come from the corporate background, and most of the clients I work with are large corporations, and being able to use something like Prezi really creates that point of difference. People are like, oh, this is different, and they're engaged, and it's really worth a little bit of effort up front learning how to use it, because as I have said before, once you understand, it's really no more complicated than PowerPoint, and PowerPoint is so I want to say two-dimensional, which I guess Prezi is, but it's just very samey, and there's only so much you can do with a PowerPoint slide. So I'd really embrace people to have a go at using Prezi to create that point of difference and to be memorable.
Great, yeah.
Okay, so what that really does is bring us to tip 5. Now, encouraging collaboration. So what do I mean by that? Well, I work with virtual teams pretty much every day. And one of the things I will always encourage them to do and support them to do if needs be is to agree what the rules of communication are going to be. And this is even down to, if I need to quickly catch you, how will I connect with you? And being consistent in that is really important. So another example would be, I know certain clients only want to be communicated through email, whereas someone like myself, I would much prefer a quick text or even a WhatsApp if it's appropriate for the informal chat, and then email just for things that are very business focused and have facts in. A lot of my clients use Microsoft Teams. Again, just using the chat function on that to collaborate, and then just using email or project management systems to do the more formal. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But have you formalized what you will use for which type of communication? And I would also really encourage from creating a fun factor. A lot of my clients are really missing that fun that's created by teams working together in an office together. So how can you encourage collaboration at a social level? Even if it's the first 5 minutes of a meeting, no one is allowed to talk business. It has to just be social chit chat. So think about collaboration above and beyond just the work content, because this enables trust to be built. And when I say be present with regards to collaboration, I'm talking about the basics, like have your webcam on, and when it's on, be there, nodding, acknowledging. You don't have to be talking, but let people know that you are engaged and listening. Sitting with a very blank face, looking bored, really is not giving the impression that you are present. And this is tough for some people, because some people are very internal in how they think and analyze. Some people can have, very, very poker faces, whereas some of us are constantly smiling, nodding, and giving away our inner thoughts. So really, again, that self-awareness of how are you perceived when you are in business meetings. And I've had some quite powerful conversations with leaders, saying, are you aware that it's really obvious that you're sending an email or writing something on your keyboard when you're communicating, a member of your team is communicating with you? So it's all of that and more. Be present and really be aware of how you are being portrayed through a webcam, assuming it's on.
Can I say two things about this, Julia?
Of course.
Because this morning I had a conversation with a client, and she's actually checking on the way I would like to communicate. And this is the first time that somebody's asking me this. We have to communicate for the coming 4 weeks with each other with a few deadlines. And she was new to the company, and she said to me, so what way would you like me to communicate? And I was a bit surprised about the question, because I thought, is that a question, or is it what is obvious? Because we have so many ways of communicating. So I said to her, okay, my way of communicating is like formal things and deadlines and documents. Please send it by email. And I would like to speak and talk about the content via Zoom, or just when we have to work together quite quickly, let's just have a quick chat. So, but this is actually agreeing on the rules internally, but also with the client. I really I liked her question, and it helps as well to just make sure that relationship, what you're mentioning, is being built from the first time you meet. So yeah, this is, I think, really something that I just experienced. So
yeah. Great example.
The second thing I wanted to say about collaboration, I see that a lot of people have a challenge lately to find a way to collaborate effectively, because the calls are quite intense and you're watching yourself the whole day. And there's some tools as well to have a small brainstorm session, or to work on a customer journey. And a tool that is really interesting to use in several ways, because it has a few templates which you can use, is Miro. And Miro it's like a white canvas where you can do sticky notes and customer journeys and everything. So just take a look at it, because in terms of encourage collaboration, you can stimulate and invite people as well on a meeting to do it in a different way than just talking. So I just want to add on my knowledge based on what you're saying.
Great, thank you, Mandy. Really interesting and useful shares there. That brings us to our final summary, the top 5 tips, just to bring this all together. Firstly, really know ourselves, be self-aware, and then think about the others that we need to be communicating with, get to know them, and adapt our style to work so that we work together and it's collaborative. Build trust, really think about building trust, and then really clarifying who it is we're communicating with, how are we going to engage them, and really encouraging collaboration between yourself, them, and everyone else who you are needing to communicate with in this virtual world. So I hope that has given some food for thought, and I very much look forward to our next time together. Thank you, Mandy.
Perfect. So next session will be on virtual leadership. And as you notice, based on our session now, you see that Julia has a lot of experience in coaching people on that. And I'm looking forward to have this chat again and try to create that beautiful visuals that we're using in Prezi again. So looking forward to see you next time, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.